Hey everybody, back again with episode number 5. This time with Mr. BCL admin himself, Caamen. I believe this was from a ranked scrim, and we focused on both sides of Mos Eisley for this one. This was actually a fun one for me personally, because I got to talk a bit about my favorite class, which is Wookie, and my favorite part about playing Battlefront, which is the strafing and strafing patterns. Timestamps are below as usual, so hope you enjoy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, um, definitely strafing too. To me, your strafing looks slightly lazy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Like, we're spending a lot of time going in one direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It could be more staccatic, go faster. And keep in mind that doing too fast is also bad.
Okay.
So if you think about like what's happening when you do a long strafe, here, I'll do it again. If you're doing a long strafe like this, what you're doing is you're making it your character's going, yeah, and yeah, right?
Yeah.
And it's very easy for them to track the long.
Okay.
So even though your character model is moving along this track, it's moving very slowly. So it's fairly easy to line up. What happens when you do the little, if you think about it, is your model's moving from like here to here.
Yeah. So it doesn't move much at all.
Right. So it's still covered. And so ideally you're doing shit like this.
Okay.
Where it's like Schrodinger's hitbox, where it can be everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. And once you get the idea of like, you can even practice it like in single player and stuff, where it's like, if you just think of like different rhythms in your head, like short, long, short, 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 long, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Once it becomes natural for you to be able to do short or long when you want to, that's when you can start playing with the rhythm of creating a pattern, breaking the pattern, and you'll be able to control where they're shooting you more often. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because if you do like a short and then like a long and then another short, they're going to expect a long, and so you just do a short in the other direction and then a long. Stuff like that. Oh, you're gonna die. Run. Run. So yeah. So we're gonna see if this is a pattern developing. Mos Eisley has like the 3 streets, right?
Yeah. I think first, second, and third.
And then like the far side, which no one goes on really.
Yeah.
If your goal is to, because in that goal I could see like you dropped one, you were with one person ahead of you and one person was behind you, right?
Yeah.
So you're at that moment you're all pushing as a team, right?
Yeah.
But you're on different streets, which basically means that you've taken the advantage you had of numbers and split them.
Yeah. Okay.
And if the idea is to, like, the thought process into it is like, we need to cover more spaces so they can't get by us, but they're not gonna like run past you guys while you're all pushing the flag. And so it's more ideal for you to group on like one street together. That way that anytime one person shows up, now you got 2 shots going on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, makes sense.
Because they can do the exact same. They spawn and they'd be like, okay, we got 2 people on different streets. We'll just kill that one first and then that one. So that it gives them the opportunity to do what you should have done to them.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to point out something really good that R-dubs did that I feel like not enough people do. So at this point, R-dubs is probably calling what his location is, but you don't know exactly where it is. And he actually uses his keybind to say, this is where I am. People need to have that bound to something better. Like the backup
if
or
I'm
the
out
I need
either.
medic, one of those needs to be bound so that you can just click it and be like, here I am.
Yeah, I need to do that too. To be honest, I haven't messed with ping bindings at all.
At least do the medic one.
Mm-hmm.
In like in Team Fortress 2, it's like E. It's like literally one of like your closest buttons.
Yeah, that would make it really easy.
Just bind it to like tilde or something like that.
There, I played that wrong too. I was thinking about that after I played that one-on-one.
Mm-hmm. How would you have played it different?
Here I would probably have either used my debt or I would have healed or at least started putting health packs on the ground. Instead of just trying to kill him because he was low. And I definitely wouldn't have rolled because most snipers in this game nowadays, if you roll, they know exactly where to hit right afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But here I could have det him, and then here I also could have det him, and I didn't even use it.
I looked a little bit trapped in the I'm against a sniper, I should get close as possible mindset, which is actually incorrect. At a certain point, right? So I mentioned in one of the other videos how there's like a sweet spot for every class, right? Which I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
We're gonna go back one more time, and we're gonna think about it in terms of why that's the case, right? At a certain distance, like if we're actually, let's continue until I see the other guy. Cool. So at this distance, you can see your crosshairs basically like filling his entire model, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And with the amount of time in between like a shotgun shot, the amount of room that he can strafe at this distance is to maybe like here. And so no matter where he moves, as long as your shot is like right in the middle, you're technically gonna hit him no matter what, right?
Yeah.
And you can keep adjusting. And when you're farther away, now you're at risk of random bullet spread, right?
Yeah.
So
sense.
if he's back here and he moves here and here, technically a crosshair is going to be all over him, but now you're at risk of the bullet spread just going where it wants.
Yeah.
What happens when you get too close to him? So like right here. Now if we look, your crosshair is like this on him. And so with the same amount of time of being the shot, when he strafes, he can actually be a lot farther. And so now you can actually miss him completely.
Okay.
This happened in, I think, maybe it was Dave or Pookie's, where he was fighting a sniper, and I think it was against Jules, so maybe it was Dave. Where Jules was actually trying to get closer to him at a certain point, because he also knew that the closer he gets, now the variance on where he could be in relation to your crosshair is much wider. And so he can almost like strafe around your entire body by the time you get a shot off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay,
so if you had been, I have to go back 10 seconds on Twitch, of course. Maintaining this distance is fine. Maintaining this distance is fine. But any closer than this and you're starting to run into like slot machine territory, or if you hit him, you're going to kill him. But if you don't hit him, then you're definitely not going to hit him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Anytime that you see, because I can tell you're looking at your minimap, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you're looking at your minimap by the times where you stop looking at it, if that makes sense. Or more specifically, you stop updating it. So in this case, we're going to see two people appear on your minimap, at which point you do not rotate your minimap at all again.
Probably because I don't even see them. To be honest, this time I probably don't see the two people on the minimap. I see this guy here.
You see two of them. You're right here.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And there's like a good 2 seconds where you just are walking forward towards them, and then you get shot from the guy behind you, at which point he's called you out, which means the person that you were looking at now kills you.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
So it happened a little bit earlier where the same thing happened here, where we were just looking with the 2 snipers, where once you saw the snipers, you didn't look anywhere else. And it happened a little bit earlier before that. I can't remember where we were. I think it was up here.
When you're talking about when I jumped like into the 2 hinges or whatever it was?
Yeah, that might have been it. It might have been over here. But basically, once you locate people, that shouldn't be the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
And I know it's hard to like reroute your brain from, I've located them, I want to have my shot lined up when I can get to them. But really all you've done is like filled the first checkbox of like, okay, I've found these people. Where else can I be dying from?
Okay, yeah.
And it'll help you reposition your character to be in a more safe position for anyone else that's coming. You know what I mean? Or it might be that no one is coming, in which case, tally forward. But you don't know that until you've checked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
What do you think a Wookiee's job is on Mos Eisley?
The way I try to use Wookie is to absorb, well, lack of a better term, absorb darky shocks. But honestly, that doesn't look like. I like to think that's not a good representation of that death of how I like to play Wookie.
Okay.
I try to stay inside or around buildings that I can quickly use for cover to dodge out of either 1 or 2 darkies at a time, depending on how many they are. I don't normally go to a spot where there's a hole in the wall that I can get shot by 2 different darkies at once.
Okay.
But yeah.
If your goal as Wookiee is to be, literally a lightning rod,
Yeah.
Ideally you'd be in a more centralized location, right?
Yeah.
If your goal is to draw people to you so that your teammates can fire at them, that's obviously not going to be the best way to go. In fact, going first as Wookiee, I think is generally less optimal, just because for the same reason, where you're too slow to effectively ever pressure the flag. So you're almost like a midfielder in soccer, or you're kind of just like controlling the middle. From the amount of space that you had to cover, going from your spawn to here, you're gonna have to deal with at least like 2 more spawns before you get to their flag. Realistically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, if it's going to be a multi-stage push, then you need to be controlling somewhere, in this area. Almost like where the sniper was jumping, what ramped up onto this building and then was jumping over there. That's actually a pretty good spot. He's in the air, so you can be here,
Okay.
And then with the next push, you wipe them at their flag and then pull and get a clean one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You did this as NG as well a couple times. Back when we were talking about how there was like, you guys were splitting up onto the different streets.
Yeah.
That's what this feels like again, where it's like you're trying to cut more area, but what you're actually doing is you're just splitting yourselves up. Ooh, a flag.
Honestly, here
Touch it. Touch it.
I was worried about him.
It doesn't matter, man. At that point, your job is just to reset it, and there it goes.
Okay.
If anyone says like I dropped the flag or something, and you can see the timer, at this point, even if you get long spawn, you'll still technically be up in time to retouch it again.
Yeah.
This is a lot of information to kind of parse immediately. Like when I was watching this and I saw the timer and the flag, I wasn't looking here. You know what I mean? But my immediate reaction was, he's literally running. I have to touch this now. Just to set the timer over again.
Okay.
Even if you're at low health, especially at your low health, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Sacrificial am anyway, may as well make it for something.
Yep. The point of all of this is to say that while they're excellent in their specified niche, that doesn't necessarily fit for all maps, right?
Yeah.
And you have to kind of like pick the right spot for your class on each map. Okay, so like a sniper on Most isolate's good, but not everywhere.
Yeah.
If you're fighting people in between two streets, then an engineer is going to be better than a sniper. If you're fighting people by defending your front spawn as rebels, then sniper's going to be better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is Wookie good at?
I guess it's the most effective at medium range, but it can do almost any range, to be honest.
If you think about like, how do I?
It's also kind of a tank because of its health pool.
Mm-hmm. A very slow tank.
Yeah.
I think Wookie can be good at all. It's like jack of all trades, master of none when it comes to ranges, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
At long range, it's gonna be pretty good against everything. At medium range, it's gonna be it probably is at its best. Yeah, probably at its best. And at close range, it's good against pretty much everything. Might lose to NG sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But how does it win all those fights in general? When you finish fighting someone as a Wookiee, what's your health pool usually look like?
It's usually half or less.
So really, it's winning fights because it's able to tank a couple of shots to kill the person, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the king of 1v1s if it's at full health.
Yeah. Okay.
And so if that's the case, then you're either limited by where there's health droids on the map or where your teammate engineers are on the map.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen you with that mindset yet as Wookiee.
Okay.
Anytime someone plays as Wookiee, you either need to be paired with like 2 other Wookiees next to you or at least an engineer to get like the full benefit of Wookiee, in the sense that like you can't like move across the map, fight a dark trooper, end up at like a quarter health, and then sit at a health droid for 7 years while your massive health pool like scoots up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that does. Yeah, it does make sense.
And so you are either limited in where you can go to, close to those things on your side of the map, like close to your own ammo droid or excuse me, health droid, or spawn to be able to switch and heal yourself and then switch back. Or you should be utilizing like an engineer teammate to help you.
Okay.
And it kind of it pairs with the lightning rod aspect where you're trying to draw people to you. You're trying to draw people to you because you can beat them all 1v1, but you can only do that once until you get healed up again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're getting flanked by, if any class is getting flanked by like 2 or 3 dark troopers, you're always going to die.
Yeah.
But if you can kill them one by one with an engineer dropping you health packs, then you can do it. You know what I mean? Wookiee is different than Dark Trooper in the sense that Wookiee requires the most team support around it to be successful.
Yeah, that makes sense. Darky is more like a solo special.
If Wookiee is so centralizing because you eventually have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say the same about Darky, where like you have to deal with the Darky, but it's not the same. It's like the Darky like flies across the map to get a couple kills and do something, and then dies and does it over again. The Wookiee spends like 2 minutes to get across the map.
Yeah,
I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a snowball that eventually rolls towards you, and you eventually have to deal with it.
Okay. Yeah.
But that only counts. That only is able to happen if you are supporting it correctly. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So we're back on NG. You see them together. They pushed up together, but you are all on separate streets again.
Yeah. And I actually think they get up first too because ISO got kind of overwhelmed because he's on sniper.
Mm-hmm.
Then I get shot in the back and die.
Mm-hmm. Because you were looking at him, and so you found your prey, and you weren't going to refresh any other information because you wanted to know what they were doing, right? So that basically like kind of encapsulated the entire first map for us.
Yeah.
Same thing with the strafing, if we look at yours.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're the very long strafes in one direction and back.
Okay.
It's strafing is like almost more important than shooting in this game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Especially with like how janky the hitboxes are, and the net code is, or whatever it is that makes it so janky. That I can tell that you're. It almost like looks like you're strafing just because you know you're supposed to strafe, but you're not putting any thought into how you're strafing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense, yeah.
So if we look at him, strafe. So he actually strafes twice as much as you do in 2 shots, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
And he actually varied how far he went each way. So it was more of like that pattern as opposed to just that pattern.
Okay.
Getting headshot is by a sniper is vastly easier, depending on your strafing as well.
Okay.
Like you get one shot in a lot of these clips, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's because you're making it too easy for them to know where you're going to go.
Okay.
That was actually pretty good. I'll watch it again just to illustrate the point. See how there was more variance in your strafing?
Yeah.
There's more variance in the length of time and direction, right? So it was more like this than it was this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Generally, it's like I could tell that you were peaking like when you wanted to. I'm usually of the opinion that like if at all possible, you want to be peaking when they don't want you to be peaking, right?
Yeah.
Basically, you want to make their peak as annoying as possible.
Okay, yeah.
So just, throw an auto turret here or throw a nade right here so that you can at least like have some control over what they're doing.
Yeah, okay.
With their movement. At that point, you're kind of just like leaving it up to chance in the shot and who has a better connection to the server and can see each other first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It kind of goes to what strafing does is it allows you to control where your opponents are shooting. Once you reach a certain level of like how good you are at your strafing, you'll actually be able to get them to shoot where you want them to shoot you. you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can bait their shots into certain positions. And that's like the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
It's the same mindset of like having some control over what your opponent is doing will always benefit you.
Yeah, okay.
Only if they're from you actually chose a pretty good. Oh, he is at no health. Just you have 4 nades, throw it.
That's another thing I need to work on a lot is throwing nades with Darky. I don't do it enough.
When you use a det, usually your goal is to kill someone with the det, right?
Yeah.
Simple phrase, but it needs to be said.
No, yeah.
When you throw a nade, your goal usually isn't to kill them with the nade. Your goal is to make them move.
Okay.
So it's not a mindset of I need to place this nade perfectly so it'll kill them. Your goal is to place the nade so they have to move. Ideally, they can only move in one location or 2 locations so that your crosshair can already be there. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
if we see this guy, I see he's at no health, right? Just bump a nade right there. He can no longer stay in this area, which means he'll go right here.
Yeah, okay.
He's either going to go here or he's going to try to roll immediately through here. Either way, you have a clean shot.
Yeah, okay.
So all this is just like... It actually almost looked like you were about to throw one.
Yeah, I think I was thinking, oh, hey, I could just throw a nade.